Marcus was 47 years old when he learned that being invisible can be fatal. 12 years. 12 years washing dishes. 12 years treated like a ghost, until the CEO collapsed. And suddenly, the hands no one respected were the only hands that knew how to save a life. But Marcus held a secret that could have saved the entire company, if someone had just bothered to ask his name. Now, after saving them, they wanted to destroy him. Because the most dangerous truth in the world is realizing the person you dismissed was always smarter than you. This is the story of how an invisible man became the greatest threat they had ever faced. Not out of revenge, but something far more dangerous. Justice. Marcus Carter arrived at the building at 5:57 a.m. every morning, rain or shine, 12 years in a row. He'd park in the side lot where no one else parked, slip through the loading dock, clock in without a word, and walk into a kitchen that never said his name. To them, he was just the dishwasher, a ghost in gray, the man who made dirty things disappear. But Marcus had a secret ritual. Before the chefs came in, before the ovens roared to life, he'd stop by locker 12, count out whatever change he had, fold it into a small envelope, and place it next to a note that read, "For Malik, lunch for the week, love Dad." $47, exactly. All he had left that Monday morning. His son was in college now, studying economics, top 5% of his class. Marcus never missed a payment, never missed a day. He wasn't rich, he wasn't praised, but he kept a promise. The cafeteria served over 400 executives every day, polished men in tailored suits. High heels that clicked with power. None of them knew who Marcus was, and none of them ever asked. One spilled coffee on the floor near the espresso machine. Marcus stepped forward with a towel. The man waved him off. "Leave it, someone will clean it up." Marcus smiled gently, then bent down and wiped it anyway. No thanks, no eye contact, just the hiss of an espresso machine drowning him out. In the locker room, he sat on the bench, hands rough from scalding water, knuckles raw from bleach, calloused, worn, cracked, but steady. He looked at them. The hands that raised a son, the hands that once dreamed in equations and blueprints, the hands that had once traced gentle circles on his wife's palm in a hospital bed that stopped beeping too soon. Marcus traced the emergency diagram on the wall near the kitchen. The arrows, the lines, the chemical pathways. He didn't need to. He remembered every step, like he used to trace formulas on whiteboards, like he used to write out cardiac response protocols, like he used to trace her fingers when she was too weak to speak. Some things, you never forget how to read. No one saw this part of Marcus. No one wanted to, except one man, Jay, an old janitor with a stiff knee and quiet eyes. "You were made for more," he once told Marcus, just above a whisper, like it was dangerous to say out loud. Marcus never replied, but the words stayed, like rust beneath paint. Thursday afternoon. Lexi, a new intern, sat alone with her salad. Bright smile, allergy bracelet. Marcus noticed the dressing packet, pine nut vinaigrette. He moved quickly, calmly, no drama, no panic. "Excuse me," he said softly. "You might want to check the label." Lexi turned pale, pulled out her EpiPen, rushed to the infirmary. Later, she asked him, "How did you know?" "I unpacked the shipment this morning," Marcus said. "I remember things." She thanked him. Nobody else said a word. No chef mentioned it in the shift briefing. No supervisor followed up. A near miss, swept like crumbs off a tray. In the security room, a red light blinked. Camera 8 had caught it all. The moment, the warning, the man. The footage would sit in archives, unwatched, unlabeled, like Marcus himself. But not for long. It started with a glance, then a pause, then a question that no one else thought to ask. "Do you always work this early?" Chloe's voice echoed down the hall like sunlight in a quiet room. Marcus looked up from the dishwasher, surprised. She was the new intern in HR. Young. Curious, not yet shaped by the building's cold routine. He gave a nod. Kitchen starts early. Chloe smiled. You organize the carts better than anyone I've seen. Marcus shrugged. Plates don't like chaos. The next morning, she dropped her flash drive near the staff lounge. By the time she realized, it was gone. That evening, she found it on her desk, neatly labeled, folders color-coded, file names corrected, sorted. She blinked. How? A yellow sticky note. Some files were duplicated. I kept the most recent. Hope that's okay. M. She stared at the letter M for a long time. No one in her department used M. No one would have taken the time. Chloe followed the hallway cameras, paused at 3:18 p.m. There he was, Marcus, holding the flash drive like it was glass, walking like he didn't want to disturb the air. The next day, she caught him again. I didn't know you worked with IT. I don't. But how did you know which files? I just noticed some patterns. She tilted her head. What kind of patterns? Marcus hesitated, then said softly, same timestamps, same metadata, different authors. One of them wasn't real. Chloe blinked. He turned away. Sorry, I didn't mean to interfere. She smiled. No, I think that's brilliant. Word spread, not officially, not in meetings, but in the way whispers travel when something doesn't add up. One evening, the kitchen server glitched. Orders were lost. Chaos ensued. Marcus stayed silent. Then, 15 minutes later, he slid a folded paper under the head chef's office door. Power load in server 2 spiking at 1642, cooling system misaligned, happens every third cycle. Will repeat Thursday. The chef never mentioned it. But Thursday came, and so did the crash. Except this time, he was ready. Marcus got no credit, but he also got no reprimand. And in a place like that, silence meant survival. Chloe began stopping by more often. She asked about efficiency, about workflows, about data structures. He answered gently, always deflecting praise. Until one afternoon she asked the wrong question. What did you study before this? Marcus paused, eyes distant, then, almost inaudibly, biomedical systems. Chloe blinked. You were an engineer? He said nothing, just rinsed a glass, dried it, placed it on the rack. The next morning, Chloe brought him coffee. She was met by the head chef instead. That for me? He asked, smiling like a knife. Chloe froze. No, it's for Marcus? He laughed. You know he's not staff, right? He's contracted. You're not supposed to cross lanes. That's how companies work. Chloe nodded politely, but inside, something cracked. That evening, Marcus walked past the basement maintenance room. He stopped. Something wasn't right. A faint drip, an odd hum, a pipe sweating in a place it shouldn't. He adjusted a valve, tightened a latch. Saved the entire West Wing from a future flood. No one saw, no one knew, except Marcus. And maybe the building itself. By now, he knew its rhythms better than most people knew their homes. He knew when the elevators sighed, when the lights flickered 3 seconds before a power test, when the air vents clicked before sunrise. It was his symphony, and he was the conductor no one noticed. Until Chloe found something odd in the audit logs. A tiny red flag. Activity on the internal server at 2:04 a.m. A user ID that didn't exist. A folder that had been renamed, then erased. She didn't understand it fully, but Marcus did. He looked once, twice, then said, Someone's hiding something. That night, a letter slid under the CEO's office door, typed, anonymous. You have a vulnerability, and it's not in your systems. It's in your silence. The next morning, no one spoke of it. But in the hallways, security cameras were checked, emails were scanned, and someone started watching Marcus a little too closely. It was the kind of night where everything needed to be perfect. The charity gala was the company's crown jewel, an annual display of wealth, power, and pristine reputation, gold banners, crystal glasses, imported flowers. Executives practiced their smiles, interns rehearsed their small talk. Marcus was not on the guest list. He was polishing silverware in the back. The kitchen pulsed with urgency. Chloe passed him once, adjusting her headset. "You all right?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "Big night." She smiled. He returned to his work. In the ballroom, the CEO stood behind a podium, spotlight overhead, a string quartet tuning up in the corner. Backstage, Marcus pushed a cart of empty glasses. The dishwasher had jammed hours earlier. He fixed it himself. No one noticed. His shirt clung to his back with sweat. His hands, burned from steam, moved without pause. Then, the scream. It wasn't loud, but it cut through the violin notes like glass breaking under velvet. A woman near the stage gasped. The CEO staggered. His hands trembled. His face turned pale. He clutched the podium and collapsed. Panic rippled through the room. People shouted for a medic, but no one moved. Phones were pulled out. Security hesitated. Someone yelled, "Is there a doctor?" Marcus was already moving. He dropped the tray, ran past the curtain, dropped to his knees beside the CEO. The tuxedoed crowd stood frozen, watching the dishwasher put his hands on a billionaire's chest. Marcus checked the pulse. Weak, irregular. He tilted the man's head, cleared the airway. Started compressions. 1, 2, 3. He counted under his breath. Blocked out the cameras, blocked out the stairs, blocked out the past. But it came anyway. A hospital room, beeping machines, his wife's hand going cold in his own. Back then, he hadn't been fast enough, hadn't known enough. And it had cost him everything. Not tonight. He called out, "Get an AED, now." Security snapped into motion. 7 minutes. Marcus kept going. Chest compressions, breath checks, eyes locked on a man who had never looked at him. The machine arrived. Marcus applied the pads, charged it. Shouted, "Clear!" Shock. The CEO's body jerked, then stillness, then breath, a cough. The room exhaled. Paramedics burst in. They took over. One of them asked, "Who started compressions?" Someone pointed. "The dishwasher." The medic looked at Marcus. "You saved his life." Marcus just nodded, then stood up, back straight, hands shaking. He stepped out of the spotlight, back through the curtain, back into the kitchen, picked up the tray he dropped, and kept working. In the ballroom, no one applauded. No one approached him. Not yet. But a photo had been taken, blurry, shaky, from someone's phone. Marcus, kneeling, his hands on the CEO's chest, executives frozen in shock around him. That image would travel through inboxes before dawn, through whispers in conference rooms, through the board. For the first time in 12 years, they saw him. But what they didn't know, what they still hadn't asked, was who he really was, and what else he knew. Because that night, Marcus didn't just save a man. He opened a door, and the truth waiting behind it wasn't just dangerous, it was unforgivable. The next morning, Marcus was called to the top floor. For 12 years, he had cleaned the dishes of men who lived up there. Men with corner offices, private elevators, catered meetings. He had never stepped past the second floor. Now he stood outside a polished glass door that hissed open without touch. Inside, silence, leather chairs, a view of the city that made people forget who built it. The CEO was sitting up, pale, recovering, grateful. "You saved my life," he said. Marcus nodded. The CEO smiled. Bravery and humility. Rare combination. Then came the offer. "We'd like to move you up. Facilities management, full-time, better pay, clean title. Facilities, not systems, not operations, not strategy, facilities. Marcus forced a smile. Thank you. He walked out slower than he came in. That night, in the locker room, he stood in front of the mirror. Looked at his reflection for a long time. 47 years old, lines around his eyes, hands scarred, calloused. Maybe they're right, he whispered. Maybe I was just dreaming. He didn't notice Jay standing in the doorway. You weren't dreaming, Marcus, the old janitor said. They were. Chloe knocked on his locker that afternoon, her eyes wide. I found something, she said. She held out her phone, an old article, a research paper on real-time emergency modeling. Author, Marcus Carter, cited by Harvard, referenced in modern medical protocols. Chloe looked up. You wrote this? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. He sat down slowly, breathed in. But upstairs, they were already meeting. Executives in closed rooms, behind silent doors, speaking in low tones. He's too visible now. Background checks flagged nothing, just a dropout. But he's not just a dishwasher. He's not one of us. We need to control the story. Marcus passed by a conference room that evening. The door was cracked open. He heard it. We can't have someone like him inside operations. If word gets out. A pause. He stays where he is, quiet, or we shut it down. Marcus froze. Something behind his ribs cracked. Not a bone, something deeper. Later that week, he found a note on his mop handle. Don't get ahead of yourself. The chef stopped him in the hallway. You know, he said, grinning. Some people save a life and think it makes them one. Marcus didn't reply. The chef leaned closer. You don't belong in their rooms, Marcus. Don't confuse charity for a promotion. He walked away. Marcus stood still. Everything felt heavier now. Not just the plates, the silence, the eyes, the invisible weight of being seen, but not welcomed. That night, Marcus opened his locker and found his envelope for Malik still there, untouched. He had forgotten to send it. He sat down, head in hands. Was he making things worse? Would Malik be safer if he just disappeared again? He stared at the concrete floor, cold, familiar. Footsteps approached. Jay sat beside him, quietly. You thinking about quitting? Marcus didn't answer. Jay sighed. You saved the CEO. You saved that intern. You fix half the building before breakfast. He paused. And they're still trying to keep you in the shadows? Marcus nodded slowly. Jay looked him in the eyes. Then maybe it's time you build your own door. The next morning, Chloe met him outside the break room. She held up a key card. I got you access to the staff server room. There's something you need to see. Marcus didn't speak. He just took the card. For the first time, he wasn't afraid of what he might find. He was afraid of how long it had been hidden. The server room was cold. Not in temperature, but in silence. The kind of quiet that hums with things people were never meant to see. Marcus stepped in. Chloe followed, locking the door behind them. Rows of drives, blues and greens blinking like artificial stars. Chloe pointed to a terminal. I don't know what I'm looking at, but something's wrong. Marcus sat, no hesitation. His fingers moved across the keyboard with memory, not speed. Commands unfolded like habits. He didn't guess. He remembered. Within minutes, he found it. Logs that shouldn't exist, files renamed, relocated, then deleted. And in one forgotten backup, a pattern. Small data packets sent off network, night after night, same time, same route, different disguises. It wasn't just odd. It was theft. A senior VP, initials KR, had been slowly funneling product specs to an external competitor, carefully, quietly, for over a year. Marcus didn't blink. I thought I was paranoid, Chloe whispered. You were careful, Marcus replied. They count on people not being curious. He cross-referenced badge data, entry logs, even trash bin metadata. For 12 years, Marcus had moved through the building like air, unnoticed, unacknowledged. But he had seen everything. Who used the freight elevator when they weren't supposed to? Who printed documents at 2 a.m.? Who never locked their screens? Who whispered in stairwells? He hadn't meant to memorize it. He just had nowhere else to look. Now, all of it had meaning. He compiled the proof, built a simple visual map, colored lines, timestamps, file trails. Chloe stared at the screen. This is enough to fire him. Marcus shook his head. It's enough to bury him. They prepared a report, sent it through internal legal channels, flagged urgent, marked confidential. 2 hours later, they got a reply. Thank you. We'll handle it internally. Then silence. 2 days passed. Nothing changed. Then Chloe's badge was deactivated. No access to HR floor. No explanation. Marcus was reassigned to alternate storage. No kitchen, no people, just empty shelves in a windowless hallway. That afternoon, Chloe sat in her car and cried. They're burying it, she whispered. They're protecting him. Marcus didn't cry. He just looked tired. They'll erase the report, she said. No one will know. Marcus reached into his pocket, pulled out a USB drive. They can delete copies, he said, but they can't delete the truth. That night, Chloe recorded him. Not with a script, not in a studio, just Marcus, sitting on a metal stool under flickering light, speaking softly. This is what I saw. This is how I knew. And this is why I stayed quiet. Until now. He didn't beg, didn't accuse, just told the truth. Like someone folding a letter he never expected anyone to read. Chloe uploaded it. Privately. Shared it with a few people. People who knew the building. People who knew Marcus. Within hours, it spread. Receptionists watched it in break rooms. IT interns sent it in group chats. Kitchen staff passed it along like gospel. The man who washed their dishes had saved the CEO and now had uncovered the company's darkest secret. The board was flooded with emails. The chairman called an emergency session. And for the first time, they didn't ask who Marcus Carter was. They asked, how long has he known? That night, security escorted the VP out of the building. No press release, no farewell email. Just silence. The next morning, Marcus was summoned again. But this time, he didn't go alone. He walked beside Chloe, past the kitchen, past the glass doors, straight to the boardroom. And when the door opened, they didn't ask him to sit in the corner. They asked him to speak. The boardroom was quiet. No tension, no chatter. Just silence. And Marcus Carter standing in the center of the room. 12 years ago, he wasn't even allowed to walk these floors. Now, every executive was waiting to hear what he had to say. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't deliver a speech. He simply laid out the truth. Clear, calm, step by step, the data trail, the breach, the cover-up, the warning signs they ignored, and the price they almost paid. When he finished, no one clapped. They just looked down, because every one of them had walked past him without seeing him, some for over a decade, and yet he had seen everything. That week, Marcus was offered 3 positions: Chief of Security, Head of Compliance, or Special Advisor on Integrity and Risk. He chose the third, but he made one condition. His office would stay on the ground floor, next to the kitchen. Some things, he said, are easier to hear when you don't forget where you came from. The cafeteria changed. Staff began greeting him by name, not out of fear, not out of fame, out of respect. Chloe was promoted to Strategy Director. She made one change on her first day, removed the label non-core employees from all systems. "There's no such thing as someone unimportant," she said. The chef resigned quietly. No one asked why. Jay, the janitor, was promoted to facilities lead. He only smiled. Marcus never talked about the scandal. He never sought attention. But he did take one day off, the day his son Malik graduated. Cap and gown, proud eyes, and a diploma with highest honors. Malik gave one copy to the university, and one to his father. Inside was a dedication. "To my dad, the quietest genius I've ever known. You taught me to listen, to observe, and to stand when silence matters most." That evening, Marcus returned to the building, not for work, just to visit. He stepped into the cafeteria. It was late, empty. He noticed a small leak under the sink, a slow drip. He rolled up his sleeves, reached under, tightened the valve, wiped the floor. An executive walked by. "You don't have to do that anymore," he said. Marcus smiled. "I still see things most people don't." He stood up, looked around. Same walls, same counters, but not the same man. Because Marcus had never really changed. The world had just finally noticed. Some people spend their lives screaming to be heard. Others change everything, without ever raising their voice. If Marcus's story moved you, share it with someone the world has overlooked. And if you've ever been underestimated, know this: your silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it means you're watching. And one day, they'll see what they chose to ignore. Subscribe for more stories of quiet strength, poetic justice, and the power of those who rise without revenge. Comment below. Have you ever been overlooked, only to prove them wrong? Your story might be the next one we tell.